Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure everyone have been using quite a lot of this AI chat web application these days, for example POE or the DeepSeek or like ChatGPT, etc. User perspective, we all know how to already use with it. We can text it and then we can submit our prompt and then the AI would give us response. However, from a front-end or back-end developer perspective, do you know how actually technically this integration works? How the front-end sends the data to the back-end, and why the back-end can keep giving up the data to the front-end, and so that the front-end can show up face-to-face. So today, let's take a look at our really quick tech demo. Okay, now, so in DeepSeek, let's open the browser developer tools. Let's ask a question, for example, about love. And then we can see here comes prompt, which we just asked, and we can see it's giving us word by word. So in the event streaming, see that we are, and this API is giving us back all of this word by word different detail messages. So you can see here the data, and within the response to the data, the choices, we see that here, let's map it. So we can see here, the AI, here's a touching love story for you. Yeah, so you can see actually the backend is giving us a event streaming, and this event streaming is giving us like the word by word of this response. So let's take a look at these headers. We can see actually calling up a backend URL, which is the chat.deepseek, etc., which is using a post method, and we get an event streaming. So if you have been using quite a lot of RESTful API, so you may find this event streaming quite complicated. It's like something new to you. Well, it's something called server sent event. So what are server sent events? Let's take a look. So the server sent events API, the backend can keep push events to the front end. However, our front end cannot continuously push the messages to the backend. So if you have heard of the WebSocket before, basically WebSocket enables two-way communication. So frontend can keep submitting the messages to backend, and backend can also submit it backwards. However, in server-sent events, there's only one way of messaging. A really short demo on how we can create a similar web application like this on our local machine. So we are going to use this Ollama. So basically it's a tool for us to install the large language model, choose different models. For example, if you want to use DeepSeek R1, we have different choices of this light version of DeepSeek. Yep, so after installing it, so after we run the Ollama, all the installation for a while, so that we can also run Ollama run DeepSeek R1 8B, so it will pull this open source large language model into our local, open up this way we can communicate with it. So let's say hello, and the DeepSeek R1 can give us the response like, hello, how can I assist you today? And also we can run the Ollama list, which would give us a list of the models we have already installed on our local machine here. Next, let's check out this GitHub repository, which is Ollama Python library. Basically, it gives us a library for Python to integrate with the Ollama large language model we have installed on our local machine. See the example here, the usage from Ollama, define a chat response and print out this chat. Also, we can use the streaming response. Basically, like we can create this string, and then for chunk in the string, we can print it out like chunk by chunk, which is basically the things we are seeing from those word by word used in the web AI chat app. I've opened up my Corsa and I have using some prompts with the Cloud 3.5, and actually the Corsa helped me already build up my front end and my backend server in my local machine. Let's take a quick, in case you're not here, not aware of this, you can click add, and then there is a docs, and within the docs here we can actually create a new doc, and I can just add back the GitHub repository we just previously go through, and then we can add confirm here, so Ollama Python documentation here, so that the Corsa can actually check through this documentation and understand how to use this library. So I ask it here, so I tell my cursor 1 and 8B version with Olama on my local machine, and I wanted to create a Python application which can expose a endpoint with server sent events to help me take in the prompt for DeepSeek large language model and return the response in events. So I also specifically mentioned that I don't want it to create any frontend for me at this stage. It just creates a backend and it also gives me a wax swagger file so that I can test it out. So from response, you can see that it actually goes through these GitHub pages, and it helps me like create the requirements.txt, which is the Python library management files, and also create this app.python, which has exposing this post endpoint. And it also created a test file for me to test this swagger so that I can test the endpoint of this. So let's take a look at this code. So the app.py actually defines some of the classes here and expose one of this endpoint, which is the V1 chat, which we'll use for chatting with the large language model. And also is just run up this server. Next, let's take a look into the details of this chat endpoint. So it actually just checked with this DeepSeek model, the server sent here, so that we can see the async function, the event generator. So this one is basically what Corsa has learned from the GitHub documentations. Please note that here, when the Corsa first this code up, the model is not in this DeepSeek-R18B. You might need to manually change it in this. Sometimes the Corsa doesn't really know like what you input here, and the messages is the messages we are received from the request. Yeah, so that's for the streams that we can actually yield these drums and wait for 0.01, and then we can yield it up into the data.json dumps so that we can give up the token. Yeah, and then finally we can return the event sources response here by the event generator, the SSE, that the library we are importing from the installed requirements here. Yeah, so basically that's what the backend Python is about. So you can see it's very, very simple and straightforward. And after running up this server, so open this docs, which land up here, which is the Swagger file that the Corsa has helped us build up. So you can see here is the request body. I'm calling point and to true. So let's click try it out. So you for the role, let's set user, and the content, let's say who are you, and we click execute, and then we wait for a while. And boom, we can see the response here. So the server response is actually giving us in event streaming format, so that you can see the data out here has the sync and the greetings. I am DeepSeek R1 and an artificial intelligence, blah blah blah. So you can see that's the thing we see when we open the browser developer tools on the DeepSeek Chat AI application. Next, let's build up on our front end. Yep, so for the front end here, I also added a prompt for Corsa. I said that please help me use npx to create a React application, and I list out a few requirements. I asked it to have a, and also the user should be able to edit the map happens. I should connect with my backend SSE server and receive the events continuously. And also, every time I receive an update from the event, I should combine all the data within the token together so that I can make up the latest response from the SSE server. So that on the front end, every time I receive an event, you can see the text displayed in the UI chat window is being updated, like so it can make up the effect of a word-by-word response. Yep, so you can see Cursor here, it helped me run npx command to create a React app, and also install some of the dependencies here, and hit up this app.js, and then I can run the npm start run this web application. So please note that here when I first created it, I find that it's not actually integrating with my backend. I find that whenever I just X, it doesn't give me any response. So after taking a look, I find that the cursor is making some error is you calling the backend as a get get API, not a post API. So I ask it to check my app.python file and then refix my API based on the backend endpoints. I also asked it to be set the role to be user and the content should be the user, and it actually just help to refix this issue. So the course of fix, and after all, in the end, then we can have this new application here. Let's take a look at the code. So we can see here it's using some styled components, which created a few components here, and then the components will be directly used in the UI in this return section here. So it created a container, a chat window here, and from the chat windows, it has messages and just render these messages and map functions. And you can see we have each message, we have a container and the message content within. Yep, and apart from this chat window here, below we have an input container, which is the part that the user actually set the input. So the input component and the button component here. So whenever user set the input here, we set this on change handler so that it can set the input target. And also when we click the send button, it triggers this handle send function here. Well, in this handle send function is basically created a user message object, and it's calling to our backend server send event server with a post method and the request body. Yeah, and every time we also have added a read decoder here. So will it is true, then we just await for the reader to read, and then we can get the chunk from users and split it into the line. So we just do some data massagings into these messages, so that the messages is kept adding up when every time we receive the events here. Yep, and we also have this here. If the last message.row is assistant, then we actually last message.content we set the model response. Yeah, so basically that's front-end data massaging here for the chat window to messages. And now let's take a look at this finished app application. Yep, so I'm on my local host, which is this new created React application here. Let's go to the network tab and select the fetch, etc. Maybe let's just ask who are you first, and then you can see we're calling this chat, and we have the same thing that we were seeing in the DeepSeek official website. And then we are getting all of this response like sync, and greetings, and I am DeepSeek R1, this extra, all of this here. And every time we receive this chunk of data, we just update the UI here. Yeah, and also we can ask a relatively complicated question like, please help me think of a study plan to learn LLM. And we have this chat here. We can see all of these tokens are just bombing up, and we can see this word-by-word effect. And also the DeepSeek is having sync, so we can see it has this sync XML tag, and with our the DeepSeek is used for syncing, and it's syncing quite long for a while. Yep. So that is a quick short demo of actually how we are doing and what we are doing from a perspective front-end and back-end developer. The back-end developers should create a server sent event server which can communicate with the large language model, turn the model response in a string format, and also give it out in events. And for the front end, it actually connects with our backend server, and once the user data here, actually it can keep receiving all of these messages and combine this data, do some massage, and then show on the front end here. Yep. So I hope you really like this quick tech demo, and you can really get hands-on how it actually works for creating a chat AI application these days by using the event, and how the front-end and back-end developers need to cater for, and what kind of things they need to consider when they are doing development.